Shinji, you stupid idiot. White.
Apartment complex. I find it quite simple.
Hey Shinji, it's me, your hot alcoholic mom. I just want to thank you for letting me be a part of your ego.
Hey guys,
did you know linkage plus Rose is an OTK?
Huh? Who invited Ray?
Well, as the first children, I thought
Not
that I would be...
the other Ray.
I thought we were doing a thing. I saw a bunch of mecha pilots sitting around. I thought it was like a party or something.
It's not. This is a very private thing. Could you please leave?
All right, sheesh.
Thank you. Where were we?
Good afternoon, Jank enthusiasts. I'm MBT, and this is 10-Minute Testing. At the last YCS, I hopped into the go-round for day 2 and found myself face-to-face with Sky Striker. My opponent asked what I thought of the deck, and I told him, I think it's mid. He then OTK'd me with linkage. Don't worry, I got games 2 and 3. Anyway, I was intrigued enough by what linkage brought to the table that I promised I'd give it a second look. Presenting Sky Striker. So here's the list. It's a shame they just banned the best striker card, Mystic Mine. As always, I'll give you a background about the archetype, a little bit of a discussion about what I hope the deck can do, and of course, the card by card. But first, this video is sponsored by Yu-Gi-Oh! Pro Deck. Yu-Gi-Oh! Pro Deck just got a huge redesign, but it's still the #1 place to go for a pack simulator, a card database, and a wealth of strategy articles. I personally use the site to post every 10-minute testing list and every Chalice Slime Monthly Top Cut entry. Give it a look at www.ygoprodeck.com. With that, let's slide into Striker. Sky Striker is a series of cards that asks a very simple question. How broken do we have to make non-creature spells before we stop playing monsters entirely? Each of their cards has 2 functions. One that can be fired anytime you have no monsters in your main monster zone, and a second bonus effect that triggers if you've got 3 or more spell cards in your graveyard. These are all supported by these Sky Striker Aces, all attribute Link 1 monsters that represent different forms of everyone's 4th favorite teen mecha pilot, Sky Striker Ace Ray. This deck build pack archetype was completely self-contained until it became a fan favorite, and Konami's been trickling out support for it ever since. That said, times have been tough for Ray and pals. The banning of Mystic Mine, the rise of the Bestials in an archetype that needs light and dark monsters in the graveyard, and the existence of Mudora and Keldo have been the second worst thing to ever happen to a mecha pilot in a story about the apocalypse. With the understanding that the deck's main weakness was its inability to guarantee consistent access to a normal summon, Konami printed Sky Striker Mobilize Linkage. This card reads like it lets you cheat out an ace, but as I found out at the YCS, it does a lot more. If you start Ray, you can normal summon her, go to battle, attack, tag into Hayate, attack, linkage into Kagari, add back linkage, attack, and activate the non-once per turn linkage to make Shizuku OTKing in as few as 2 hyper-accessible cards. If that fails, you can simply fall back on one of the most robust control strategies ever printed. With that, let's get into the card by card. 3 copies of Sky Striker Ace Ray and 1 copy of Sky Striker Ace Rose. You might think Rose is an obvious cut for a deck that now has more consistent access to the Sky Striker Ace monsters. Well, binning it off of Hayate is critical to your linkage OTKs. We're playing 6 Bestials, 3 Magnemite, and 3 Druisworm. I want to find room for Saronir, but I just can't. You gotta play a critical mass of spells if you ever want those 3 effects to go off. 3 Ash Blossom, and now it is time for the Strikers. 3 copies of Linkage, today's main event. If you control no monsters in your main monster zone, you can't special summon monsters from the extra deck for the rest of the turn after this resolves, except Sky Striker Aces. Send a card you control to the graveyard, and if you do, special a Sky Striker Ace monster from your extra deck to your extra monster zone, and if you have a light and a dark Sky Striker Ace on the field or in the graveyard, the summoned monster gains 1,000 attack. After that, we've got 3 copies of Widow Anchor, 2 copies of Afterburners, 2 copies of Shark Cannon. This card has had a lot more utility than it currently does in the past, but with the existence of Keldo and Mudora, I find it's fine to shave a copy. 1 apiece of Area Zero, Hornet Drones, Engage with the Alt Art, and Multi-Roll. After that, we've got some non-Sky Striker spells, 3 copies of Triple Tactics Talents, 3 copies of Forbidden Droplet, and then 1 apiece of Rhoda, Called by the Grave, Change of Heart, and Minecon. Finally, pulling up the rear, we've got 3 Infinite Impermanents. Let's go to the extra. We have Access Code Talker, Nightmare Unicorn, Dark the Dark Charmer, Gloomy, 2 copies of Zeke, 3 copies of Hayate, 3 copies of Kagari, 3 copies of the Alt-Art Shizuku, and 1 Lonely Kaina. In the side, we have some cards that will do something going first. This deck has a real problem on the play, and as a result, we just have to load up on Floodgates sometimes. 1 Pankratops alongside our Scythe package, 3 Lightning Storm, 1 Feather Duster, 3 Silent Graveyard, 3 Evenly Matched, and 1 Trap Trick. So with that, let's jump into the games. Our first match is up against Blackwing, and as you can see, they've opened Dimension Shifter, an incredibly powerful card against us, but when they see that Sea Moon in the opening grip, oh, their eyes turn into little kaloots and they start womboing. Down comes Sudri to trigger the effect of the Black Whirlwind that was searched off Sea Moon, and they'll get themselves a copy of Shamal. They're going to trigger the effect of the Shamal to set Black Whirlwind 2 before bringing out Vayu with Pants On. That's going to convert into a Black Winged Dragon, activating Black Feather Whirlwind in order to bring back Vata, and then Zephyros the Elite Engraved to bring back itself. They'll go for nothing, and then afterwards they'll go for a copy of Shamal. That's going to cycle back the Sudri, and then they can use the extra normal to trigger the Black Whirlwind one more time. That Sudri and that Black Whirlwind will trigger, getting a copy of Orochi the Squall to hand. They'll special summon the Orochi, go into an Obsidian Hawk Joe before using Feather Whirlwind to bring back Vata one more. They're going to go for a copy of Muddy Mud Dragon. What the heck? There's Boreas. Okay, I know that card. Oh my god, Beals? Mirror Jade? This is like no Blackwing deck I've ever encountered. Oh, no, wait, it's like every Blackwing deck I've ever encountered. Full Armor Master plus a spent Mirror Jade pass seems pretty normal to me. We should be able to chew through this. We're going to begin with a copy of Reinforcement of the Army and follow it up with a Called by the Grave. We're going to go for a copy of Hornet Drones before attempting to steal this copy of Mirror Jade. We are successful, and then we'll banish the Albion to get ourselves a Magnamut. From here, we can link off for a Dark the Dark Charmer Gloomy. We're going to take that Nothing the Starlight, and we might as well activate the effect to deal 800 to our opponent, and that's time in the round. We'll normal summon a Ray, special summon a Rose, and proceed to combat. We're going to walk over this Full Armor Master and then attack over Joe before getting in for a ton of damage, putting our opponent at a very low life total before in main phase 2, going for a Zeke, triggering the effect of the Zeke to banish the Nothing, and then going ahead and using its effect to get a Kagari onto field. We're going to add back the Widow Anchor, set one card, go back to Shizuku, and as it turns out, our opponent doesn't have the gas left in the deck to do that big combo twice. They're going to draw, activate Small World, and then after adding from deck to hand a Gale the Whirlwind, they'll concede. Our second match is up against Branded Despia, and they have opened crazy. They're going to begin with a copy of Branded Regained, again, rebranded, just such a better name, before firing off a Fright for Patchwork, getting themselves a Polymerization and an Edge of Chain. One of those two will be going to the graveyard for the effect of the Lubellion. We'll banish it with the Magnamut to get bodies on field. They're going to cycle into a Mirror Jade. We'll trigger the effect of the Magnamut in sequence with the effect of Regained. They're going to draw a card. It's a Nibiru, that's unfortunate, and we will grab a Druis Worm. We're going to draw for turn, raise exactly what we need. We're going to go for Magnamut here on this copy of Aluber. They are going to trigger the effect of the Branded Regained once again, but there is not going to be another turn after this. We'll go for Dark and then activate Widow Anchor, targeting the Mirror Jade. They're going to chain Mirror Jade to banish the Dark, so we can triple Tactics Talents in order to take it. We're going to go for Druis Worm, and then we're going to normal summon a copy of Ray, and would you believe, that was 4 summons. We'll get in for 15, activate the effect of the Ray for a Hayate, get in for another 15, trigger the effect of the Hayate to send a copy of Rose, get in for 25, and lethal. So it's time for game 3, and you know what that means, a best of 3 versus meta. Our opponent's on, what else? Ishizu Tearlament. They're going first, they're going to begin with a copy of Sheeran, pitching a Keldo, and... oh, thank goodness, that's a whiff. They're going to go for Scream, getting a copy of Crime, set 1, and pass back to us. Okay, we should be able to do this. We're going to begin with a Ray. We're going to special summon a Rose from hand. Then we are going to go to the battle phase. We'll walk over the Sheeran and get in for 15. We'll activate the effect of the Ray, and it's immediately met with a Magnamut. Oh, God, can you just leave her alone? We're going to go for Hayate here. We're going to activate the effect of the Druis Worm in hand. They're going to chain a Druis Worm. Okay, no big deal. We'll just get in for 15 and send a copy of Engage to the graveyard. From here, we can go to main phase 2 and go into a copy of Zeke. We'll activate the effect of the Zeke to banish this copy of Druis Worm before going for a Kagari, targeting the Engage, and of course prompting the Keldo from our opponent. God, they just really have every answer. Afterwards, we're going to activate Triple Tactics Talents to draw 2 cards, and then Change of Heart to grab this copy of Magnamut. That's great, because it means we can go into Dark and then reborn this copy of Magnamut, triggering its effect. After that, we're going to go into Unicorn, and our opponent, seeing that we are about to be 5 cards up, concedes. So it's time for game 2, and regrettably, this hand actually accomplishes something. They're going to begin with a copy of Diviner of the Herald, sending an Agido to graveyard. They're going to activate the effect of the Agido. We'll both mill 5, and unfortunately, they hit both a Kelbeck and a Name and a Scream. They will resolve all of them, and after we've both put 10 cards from the top of our deck to the graveyard, they're going to do the old Kid Kolos Yoinky Splunky, adding a Merly, activating the Kid Kolos effect, sending it to the graveyard for the Merly, and then milling 8. From here, they're going to find, okay, some good stuff. They're going to go for Sheeran. We will chain Magnamut. They actually only have 1 name left in rotation, so the remaining Druis Worm should be able to make quick work of it. They'll chain Havnus and then go for Sprint. They're going to activate the effect of the Sprint, setting a Merly. We'll go for Druis Worm, and they'll chain Saronir. Now, this is not that big of a deal. We get to retain the Druis Worm for a future turn, except that it's a 6 and can make Beatrice. They're going to go for Beatrice at end step. We will resolve the effect of the Magnamut, draw for turn, and we might be able to do this. They're going to begin with a copy of Beatrice, sending a Kelbeck. That's so greedy, but does make sense. They really want to hit 2 names here, and they do. Sheeran and Merly. We can negate one of those with our Druis Worm. So afterwards, they'll be able to summon a copy of Rukalos. They'll go for Mudora here main phase, I think to try and keep me off of spells, but I don't think that's ever going to happen. We're going to go into a copy of Dark. We're going to trigger the effect of the Druid's Worm in order to send this copy of Beatrice. Then we'll activate this copy of Multi-Roll. We'll go for an Engage here. It's going to be met with a Crime. Then afterwards, we're going to trigger the effect of the Dark, which will be met with a Rukalos. Rukalos will negate the Dark, and then afterwards we can activate the Dark in sequence with the Rukalos, so it is summoned back, and we add a Ray. Finally, we will reinforcement the army for a Rose, normal summon the Ray, special summon the Rose, and proceed to the combat step. We're going to attack over this copy of Sprind. Then afterwards, we'll activate Ray in order to go into a Hayate, to which our opponent will Celiac, sending this Rukalos to the graveyard. We now have them on pretty much nothing, which is unbelievable. We'll attack in with a copy of Rose, then main phase 2, make a copy of Zeke to clear the zone, go into Kagari in order to add back this copy of Shark Cannon, go into Shizuku, set a couple, and add Engage at end step. I'm feeling really good about our chances here. Our opponent draws for turn, and that's not going to do it. So we're back with the deck, and wow, it's like 2019 never ended. Let's do the pros and cons. First, the pros. 1, God, this deck remains the industry standard for breaking boards. Between the multitude of removal spells and yoinkers like Triple Tack, Mind Con, and Change of Heart, there's almost nothing this deck can't play through. 2, damage. One of the historic weaknesses of this deck is you kind of have to be winning for like 3 turns straight to actually do enough damage to win the game. The Bestial's big bodies and linkage really help with that. And 3, it's flexible. After simplifying the game state, you can switch between aggression and board state control depending on the matchup. And the cons. 1, well, linkage helps a little, but the Bestials and the Ishizu cards still eat you alive. 2, going first is rough. Tearlament can beat nearly any setup, and without sideboard options like Artifact Scythe, you're probably not going to have a good time in games 2 and 3. And 3, aren't you sick of this? All in all, Sky Striker is a cool and powerful fan favorite, but until the Bestials and the Ishizu cards are no longer being played, I don't know if I can recommend it in good conscience. Thanks so much for watching. A big shouts out to all of my patrons, but specifically Elena Tincher, Alex Dominguez, Alex Perea, Allison Elliott, BB Poison, Big Game Home Video, Brett Henry, Chaotic Meatball, Crispy, Daniel Liu, Dank Magician of Chaos, TJ Elephant, Going Down Swinging, Grant Curry, Indiana Petra, John Piet, Jordan Kuntz, King Magic Ruler, Night Mary, Lilypod, Lockstone, Materiality, MBT Play Madolce, Megalith is Fake Goth, Mike Carlotti, NH6574, Rose Lapine, Sarah Routledge, Solar Flare, Tolarian 101, Troy says Bi Erasure is Gay, Wave Motion Ganon, and Wonder Waffle. I couldn't have done it without you.